Hello, this is Spartan Commander, and this is the 462nd Rome Total War Brotherhood game that I've put onto YouTube. Now, this battle is going to be a little bit different from what we've done in the past. I was going to give you a little bit of history about a battle called CARRHAE, C-A-R-R-H-A-E. I think it's pronounced CARRHAE. And this was fought back in 53 BC. Also, towards the end of the battle, I'm going to ask a question that I've never asked before out of 460 battles that I've put onto YouTube. But you have to watch the battle very carefully to see if you can answer the question towards the end of the battle. Okay, so please watch the battle carefully, otherwise you probably won't be able to answer the question towards the end of the battle, okay? Right, our first teammate is Brotherhood member Steve Longshanks. Now, Steve's got 13 Spartans and 6 long-range Cretan archers. As you can see, this battle was fought on a desert map. Unusual. Okay, our next teammate is Brotherhood Mad King, who has bought what some people would call a lesser 31k faction, and that is Parthia. Now, Mad King has got 2 elephants. He's got 10 foot archers. He's got 4 cataphracts, 1 camel cataphract, and 2 horse archers. Okay, so that's his army there. We've tweaked the rules a little bit for him to give him some L's, because obviously Parthia is not that great. And as you can see here, the horse archers are fully upgraded. Okay, 3 experience stripes, gold shield, gold attack. Now, these horse archers are really good with just gold shield, gold attack on, but you fully upgrade them, and these guys are really tough. So I think that's quite a well-balanced Parthian army there. And if we have a look at the elephants, okay, so you can alt attack with these elephants. You've got a massive charge bonus as they charge into enemy infantry and cavalry. Plus, of course, you've got the 2 archers on the top of the elephant there as well. So not only can they got a massive charge, they bring a big fear factor, sapping morale of enemy troops, plus they've got archers on them as well. Okay, so I think that's a pretty good balanced Parthian army there. It'll be interesting to see how well it does on the modern day battlefield against really good players. Okay, our next teammate is Brotherhood member JGP. Now, JGP has got the bog standard Roman army, 31k Roman army of 14 infantry and 6 cavalry. Remember, the reason that it's a standard, the bog standard 31k Roman army is because it's very effective and very efficient. So that's the army that he's got there. And our fourth teammate is myself, Spartan Commander, who's got his very old Roman army of 12 infantry and 6 cavalry. Okay, so there's our team there. Let's say very unusual to have Parthia on the modern day 31k battlefield. And here is the other team. We have Brotherhood member Vlad. Now, Vlad has been a member of the Brotherhood for many years, and he just comes onto RTW on the odd Friday or Saturday night now just to have a few battles. And Vlad has got 6 cavalry, 2 archers and 12 infantry. And it's nice to see him back on RTW. He used to be a regular player years and years ago, but as I say, he just comes on for a couple of nights now and again. Okay, their second teammate is Brotherhood member Pompey. Now, Pompey has got 12 pikes, 4 archers and 4 cavalry. Unusual to see Pompey bring Macedon, so it'll be interesting to see how well he does. Have a quick look at his formation. Okay, can you see, like in most formations you see these days, he's got just gold shield, gold attack on his forward units, but as you move further back into his formation, you'll see he's got his well upgraded troops with 8 upgrades, 2 experience stripes, gold shield, gold attack. As we say, the first units make the first contact with the enemy, take the pillars, and then as the tired enemy troops fight through those units, they come up against his better elite upgraded troops there. Once again, we're going to have a look at the length of these pikes. As I say before in other battle videos, enemy troops have got to fight all the way down those pikes to kill the man on the other end. Okay, and that is quite a tall order, especially for Roman troops. So I think that's a pretty good balanced Macedonian army there. It'll be interesting to see how well it does during the course of the battle. Okay, their next teammate is Brotherhood member Mars, who's bought the Rome Julio faction. Now, Mars has got 14 infantry and 6 cavalry, the bog standard. But look at what he's done to his army here. Can you see? He split his infantry up into 4 mini armies. Okay? 4 mini armies there, as you can see, backed up by 6 good cavalry. Okay, now this is a newer way to use the Roman faction there. Okay, and I can see a lot of potential there because you've got 4 mini armies that you can strike at different points, enemy armies there. So I think there could be a lot of potential in the way that he's using this Roman formation there. Should be interesting to see. And their fourth teammate is Brotherhood member Barclayman, who's got 15 Sacred Band Spearmen and 5 cavalry. Okay, so there's the enemy team. It's got the potential to be an absolute classic, and I hope you enjoy it. Okay, as we've got Parthia in this battle, I thought I would tell you a battle that was fought at 53 BC called CARRHAE, C-A-R-R-H-A-E. I think you pronounce it CARRHAE. Okay, this is where a Roman general called Crassus took an army into Parthia. Okay, now his army consisted of approximately 34,000 infantry and 8,000 cavalry, I believe. Now, he wasn't sanctioned by Rome to go into Parthia, but Crassus was renowned for being a very greedy man. He always wanted gold and precious possessions, and so he decided to take this army into Parthia to try and get some obviously valuable resources from Parthia. Okay, so he moved this massive Roman army into Parthia, and as he was moving across a plain, a couple of his scouts rode back into him and told him that there was a large Parthian army moving towards him. But this was a very unusual army because it was made up of all cavalry, no infantry at all. In fact, the Parthian army was made up of 9,000 horse archers and 1,000 heavily armoured elite cataphract cavalry. Okay, now this was an unusual army for Rome to fight. Okay, now straight away Crassus decided that he would put his Roman army into a classic formation with infantry in the middle in a long line and cavalry on the end to stop his army being stop his army being flanked by the enemy cavalry. Okay, but as he was starting to do this, all of a sudden he changed his mind and decided to change into a hollow square formation. Okay, so he wanted to make up a defensive hollow square there, which is what he did. Okay, now as the cataphracts, the heavy cataphracts, were approaching the Roman line, they had been told to dress in robes covering their armour. They had robes on top of their horses' armour as well, so they just looked like ordinary cavalry. But as they got closer and closer to the Romans, so the Romans could see them, all of a sudden these cataphracts took off their robes from their bodies and their horses, revealing the heavy armour and showing that they were the elite heavy armoured cataphracts. Now those cataphracts smashed in to the front line of this hollow square that the Romans had set up, causing disruption and mayhem, and the 9,000 horse archers surrounded this hollow square defensive formation and started to fire thousands and thousands of arrows into the Roman troops. Okay, the Romans went into testudo, okay, which we know is a good defense against missiles, but the volume of arrows that were pouring into them was starting to find chinks in these testudos. A lot of Roman troops were shot in the feet, or in the ankles, or in the legs, of course incapacitating them. They would fall down immediately, breaking up the formation as they were part of the testudo formation. So of course when they fell down, that would break up that formation, allowing arrows to come in. Okay, so it wasn't, the arrows weren't exactly killing thousands of Romans, but it was incapacitating them by hitting them in the legs and the ankles and the feet with those arrows. Now Crassus thought to himself, oh, that's okay, well we'll weather the storm here, because when they run out of arrows, we will attack them, and hopefully they'll attack us so we can come into close combat with them. But what he didn't realise was that the Persian general, Serenus, had actually brought up thousands of, as I understand, camels laden with arrows. Okay, so the horse archers could then just go and replenish their arrows anytime they wanted to keep the bombardment up onto the Roman troops. And of course this was starting to sap the morale of the Romans, because not only were they suffering casualties, but can you imagine the massive volume of arrows coming in on them all the time? So Crassus decided he had to do something to actually try and neutralise this situation, otherwise his troops were going to all be killed where they stood. Now he had his son with him, called Publius, okay, and he sent his son Publius out with approximately 4,000 troops, a mixture of archers, infantry and cavalry. Now as Publius went out, of course the Parthian archers started to retreat, leading him further and further away from the main defensive square. Okay, now Publius thought, oh great, this is great, we're chasing the enemy away, I'm going to keep chasing them. And of course he was falling into the trap of being pulled further and further away from the defensive square. And then all of a sudden the horse archers that he'd been chasing went out to his flanks, and there were 1,000 heavily armoured cataphract cavalry that smashed into the front of his units. The horse archers then moved round to his flank and rear and firing volumes of arrows into his troops, and his troops broke. Publius himself asked one of his soldiers to kill him because he didn't want to be captured, and I think out of Publius's force a small group of them managed to fight their way to a hill where they locked shields and made a final stand until the cataphract cavalry smashed into them, and most of them were killed, but some of them were captured. Okay, so anyway, one of the cavalry from Publius ran back into the defensive square and said to Crassus, that his son is being overwhelmed. So Crassus was not too sure what to do. What should he do? Move his whole army forward to help his son, because the battle was so far away they couldn't actually see. Publius had been led so far away that they couldn't see what was happening. So in the end, Crassus decided to move his whole army forward. But just as he was preparing to do that, all of a sudden a lone cataphract cavalryman with his lance, something on the end of his lance, came out and started to run up and down the Roman lines. And when they looked closely, they could see that Crassus' son's head was on this lance. Okay, so when Crassus saw this, he became a broken man. He was so distraught, he couldn't make decisions and things like that. And so the enemy attacked again. The cataphract cavalry smashed into that defensive line again, pulled back. Of course, they do it, smash in there, do the damage they want, pull back, and all the time 9,000 horse archers are shooting volumes, thousands and thousands of arrows into this defensive formation, wounding and killing Roman troops. So when night fell, when dusk fell, the Persians pulled back. Okay, the Parthians pulled back, and then two of Crassus's generals, I believe Cassius and Octavius, had to make the decision to pull the army back during the night. So they moved back to CARRHAE, the village, but they had to leave 4,000 Roman troops on the battlefield where they had been wounded in the legs and the feet, and of course they couldn't move. So they had to leave the 4,000 wounded troops on the battlefield where they moved back to CARRHAE. As soon as the next morning came, the Parthians moved forward and killed all 4,000 of the wounded troops. They slaughtered them where they laid, and then they moved on after Crassus. They didn't want to let him get away, and they realized that he'd actually moved his army into CARRHAE, but they wanted to do a negotiation with him over, surrendering or a peace treaty or something like that. Crassus didn't want to go and meet the Parthians, but his army threatened to mutiny, so he had to go. And anyway, he went to the peace talks with his generals. Something happened at the peace talk. There was some kind of friction, and in the end, him and his generals were killed by the Parthians. Okay, and he was renowned for being such a greedy man. Apparently, they poured red-hot molten gold down his throat as a gesture to show how greedy he'd been to actually try and attack their country. Okay, now he went into their country with, as I say, something like 42,000 men. 20,000 of his men were killed, and 10,000 were captured. Okay, so that was the defeat that the Roman army suffered to 9,000 horse archers and 1,000 heavily armoured cataphracts. Okay, and it was a real shock to the Roman Empire to lose to an all cavalry army. They say Crassus did the best that he could, but maybe forming up at the beginning in the classic Roman defence with a long line with cavalry on each end of the flank there to stop himself being surrounded. Maybe that would have been the best formation to go in. But to go into the hollow square and go completely defensive, well, of course, the horse archers then could make the most of that. And as I say, 9,000 horse archers with infinite amounts of arrows. Don't forget they were using very powerful compound bows, and these arrowheads had special points on them, barbed points, and very often the arrows would penetrate the Roman soldier's shield, pinning the Roman soldier's arm to the shield. That's how powerful these bows and arrows were. So you had a lot of Roman troops that had their arms pinned to their shields, trying to pull their arm through the arrow, if you like, to get them off the shields. That's how devastating those arrows and the bows were. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this brief description of the Battle of CARRHAE. As I say, 10,000 cavalry, 9,000 horse archers, and 1,000 cataphract cavalry defeated a Roman army of maybe 42,000 men. I hope you didn't find it too boring, and it's a great battle. Okay, at this very, very early stage of the battle, you can see Mad King has taken 3 of his maximum upgraded foot archers forward here, backed up by his general and 2 horse archers there forward towards the Macedonians there. Okay, now remember those big 120-man Macedonian units, as we've said in other battle videos, are extremely susceptible to any kind of missile damage. You can see Vlad's army moving forward as well, but it looks to me like Mad King wants to start inflicting casualties on the Macedonians as soon as he can. He looks like he's not going to go defensive here. He looks like he's going to be very aggressive with his Parthian army. So it'll be interesting to see how well he does with his Parthian army against really good players with really good armies here. Okay, you can see Pompey here taking his Macedonians forward, look, charging into those archers and horse archers there with his pikemen. Nice aggressive counter-attack there by Pompey there. Plus he's moving his cavalry around to pick off these isolated Parthian archer units. So nice move there by Pompey there, chasing those down. It would surprise me though if JGB bought a couple of cavalry units over here to help to neutralise these Macedonian cavalry attacks here on the Parthian archers. As you can see here, this one cavalry unit looks like he's going to take out this archer unit, but JGP's cavalry units are moving towards him there. So my guess is, as I say, yeah, he's going to pull his that cavalry unit back there. He doesn't want to be caught by those two SPQR units. Okay, you can see here the horse archers here shooting into the Macedonian troops there. Did you know that the horse archer, the Parthian horse archers had a thing called the Parthian shot? And this is where they could run away from enemy troops, riding away from enemy troops, but they could turn 180 degrees and fire accurate arrows at the enemy troops as they chased them. And this was called the Parthian shot. And it was very, very good for them because they could kill a lot of enemy cavalry that were chasing them. And it could be, of course, the cavalry couldn't get anywhere near them, but were being shot out the saddle by these Parthian shot tactics. Okay, you can see another Macedonian cavalry unit here moving towards a Parthian foot archer unit there, trying to take it out. But as I say, I think Mad King's doing really well here with his Parthian army. As I say, he's not going to go defensive. I get the impression he's going to be a very attacking player here with that Parthian army. Okay, you can see JGP here helping with his cavalry here. Nice bit of teamwork there by JGP. And it wouldn't surprise me if he could manage to get that Macedonian companion cavalry with his 2 units there. But my guess is that Pompey will probably try and pull that unit away. As you can see here, JGP is making a real effort to do that, but he needs to watch that Scipii cavalry over there, and I see there's another Macedonian companion cavalry unit moving towards him as well. Okay, so he needs to be very aware of Vlad's 6 cavalry moving towards him. Okay, and it wouldn't surprise me when he sees that cavalry moving towards him, all of a sudden he decides that he's going to pull those 2 cavalry units back out of harm's way. See the Macedonian general there turn to face him to hold and pin him there. It's a nice move by Pompey. Let's just pause again for a second. So you can see that Pompey was running his companion cavalry away and then turned to face to pin and hold those 2 units there while Vlad's cavalry could come over and smash into them and probably rout them. So that was a nice tactical move there by Pompey. Make no mistake, that was exactly what he was planning on doing there, to hold and pin them while Vlad's army cavalry came across there. Okay, let's have a look at the wider battlefield. At the moment, over on our left flank here, you can see I'm facing Mars's army. Now, remember we looked at Mars's army earlier. He split his infantry into kind of like 4 separate small armies backed up by his cavalry. I've seen this used a couple of times before. It's kind of like a new way to use a Roman army, and I can see a lot of potential in it. As you can see, I'm using the old school and old fashioned battle formation here, but I think that new formation, that the new way that people use Rome, could be very effective. I expect a lot of veterans can see a lot of potential there in comparison to the old school formations that we've been using for years. But meanwhile over here, our Parthian ally is doing extremely well, I think. Let's say JGP's cavalry needs to pull away from there now. He's probably aware of those 6 Scipii cavalry units moving towards him, and he needs to pull away quite quickly. Otherwise, he's going to be engulfed by the 6 Scipii units there. So well done to JGP. He saw that coming. But as I say, it was a nice move by Pompey there to try and pin and hold those 2 units to allow his ally to come over with his cavalry to take them out. Okay, so it's a nice move there. I can see Mad King's got his general there, his Parthian general there as well. He needs to move that out of the way because I can see a lot of enemy Scipii cavalry maybe moving in to try and take his general out there. So like I say, he's going to move that away. I see he's bringing over some of his cataphract cavalry, and I think cataphract camels are coming over here as well. Okay, remember those camels scare enemy cavalry, so that takes away morale from them and makes them more susceptible to routing. Right, there they go. There's the cataphract camels, heavily armoured camels and cavalrymen there, charging towards the enemy Scipii cavalry. They may well rout that one unit that they managed to run into there. Or, yeah, there you go. They've managed to rout that unit, but my guess is that cavalry unit will rally. Okay, now the Parthian general needs to pull his cavalry back because I can see the Macedonian pikes moving towards him. I say there's a heavy cataphracts, look. Heavy Parthian cataphracts. We call them the tanks of the ancient world. They're armoured from head to toe. As I say, he's got his cataphract camels in there as well, which is to say bring a fear factor to enemy cavalry. But there's a lot of enemy cavalry out there, plus those Macedonian pikes are moving towards his cavalry, so the Parthian general, I think, needs to make a hasty retreat there with that cavalry. Keep his powder dry with them, if you know what I mean, and bring them back into the battle when he feels they can be best used. And that's what he's doing there, pulling his Parthian cavalry and horse archers back. So that's a nice move by him, but you can see a lot of enemy cavalry out to this flank. So it'd be interesting to see if there's going to be a big cavalry battle on this flank between the companion cavalry, the Scipii cavalry, and our Parthian ally. You can see Steve's brought his archers over here, those long-range Cretan archers that do a heck of a lot of damage, and he will be making no mistake, he'll be shooting loads of arrows into those Macedonian pikemen and any archer units that come into range. Okay, Steve's really good at the way he uses archers, and you can see here the Parthian horse archer unit there in a Canterbury circle. Okay, and this is a real formation that they used to use here as they go round in a circle. Very difficult for foot archers to kill when they do that. And as I say, they can go around there in a circle, shooting loads of arrows into the enemy. Okay, meanwhile, our Parthian ally Mad King has brought his cavalry out to the right flank here, threatening the flank of the enemy team. Okay, maybe smashing into the flank of those Scipii infantry or hitting those Scipii cavalry there. Okay, so I'm trying to, as a general overview of the battle, but as you can see, it's quite spread out, really. But as I say, Steve's archers and the Parthian foot archers here will be concentrating, as you can see, the volume of archers that we've got here will be concentrating on the Macedonian pikemen or those Macedonian Cretan archers. Okay, that would be the target that our archers are aiming for. And with Steve's long-range Cretan archers, make no mistake, he is going to be causing a lot of casualties and doing a lot of damage to the enemy troops there. Okay, if you notice here, he's got his two elephant units at the rear. He keeps them well out of archer range. Look, keeps them at the rear, ready to bring into the battle when he feels ready. And as I say, over on the left flank here, I'm facing 4 small Roman armies backed up by 6 cavalry units. Okay, so as I say, veterans watching this, can you see the potential in a new way of using Roman armies there? I think they could be quite useful in the way they're using them. They pin and hold at the front, look, and then get infantry units around the flank. So I think that could well be quite an interesting way to use it. You can see JGP here, he hasn't engaged the enemy yet, but most of the battle here is over on our right flank and right centre. Okay, so those horse archers there shooting loads of arrows into the enemy. If you notice here, can you see how they turn? They actually turn in their saddles to shoot at the enemy there with that, as I say, the Parthian shot, as they call it. There you go. Can you see how they turn 180 degrees and shoot arrows into the enemy as they go round? As I say, that is called the Parthian shot and is extremely effective. You'd be surprised on how accurate they can be as well at shooting enemy cavalry out of their saddle from shooting from behind towards the enemy chasing cavalry there. Okay, so as I say, you can see Steve's long-range Cretan archers there shooting loads of arrows. Make no mistake, he will be targeting those Macedonian pikemen and any archers that are in range. Okay, now you can see Barclayman here running one of his cavalry units for him. Now notice he's got it in normal formation, not in wedge formation here, because cavalry units move faster in normal formation than they do in wedge. And if you notice here, he's going to come out of his Scipii ally and smash into those Cretan archers. Can you see that? Nice move here, nice counter move here by Barclayman with that cavalry unit, and bang, as he smashes into those Cretan archers. That was a nice hit there by him. And of course the nearest cavalry units that they maybe JGP might move forward a bit, but you can see here, can you see we're all moving, JGP and myself are moving over to the right here. We're moving back from our left flank and left centre position, moving over to the right centre and right flank there, kind of condensing our team. But as you can see, there's a lot of Macedonian pikemen moving forward here. See, Pompey's got a choice. He can either stand there and get shot to pieces, get his pikemen shot to pieces, or he can attack the archers that are actually shooting into him. And he's decided to attack. Because you see how he's moved his cavalry forward there, looking to take out as many enemy archers as he can to stop his troops being shot to pieces, as I say, by our archers there. That companion cavalry moving into more Parthian foot archers there, causing a lot of casualties, as you can see, routing a lot of those Parthian foot archers. But I say it's going into like small distinct battles, this battle is. Can you see over here on our right flank, you've got the Macedonian troops and you've got Parthia here with their archers and cavalry threatening the flank of those Macedonians. So you can see Pompey's going to have to cover his left flank here, his left flank, our right flank, against possibly cavalry attacks, and probably shielding his infantry as much as he can from archers. Right, can you see here, he's bringing 2 Macedonian units in open order in big wide formations there to protect his flank from enemy cavalry and elephant attacks. Remember, those elephants will die quickly on those pikes, the same as what cavalry will. So he knows by putting a wall of pikes out there, he's going to protect his flank from elephant and cavalry attack. Nice move there by Pompey. And all the time here, he can move his pikes forward. Look, there's nothing in front of him except some archers, and he could get round the flank of Steve. Well, his Carthage ally pins and holds Steve. Look, the Macedonians could get round his flank. You can see Vlad here facing JGP's infantry. Let's say over on the left flank here, I'm fighting the new kind of battle formation of the way that some people use Rome, with those smaller armies there. Okay, so there's a general overview of the battle as it stands at the moment. But as I say, you can see Pompey here, if he moves his pikes forward, he can get round the flank of Steve while his Carthage ally engages him. Okay, right, you can see Pompey now sending out cavalry and 2 pike units there as well. So that's a good move by him, because he knows if the Parthian cavalry charge in, they're going to have to pull back just like that, because they don't want to fight those pikes. Remember, those pikes got a big anti-cavalry bonus. So that was a nice little move there by Pompey, moving his cavalry forward, taking out an archer unit, and then pulling them back behind that pike line there before the Parthian cavalry can do anything. So don't make no mistake, that's a really good defensive formation there that Pompey's using his years of experience there on how to neutralise a cavalry army on his left flank. But as I say, make no mistake, I think Steve's archers are causing massive casualties here to the Macedonians. And as I say, Pompey doesn't want to stand around just getting shot to pieces. He's going to try and do something about it. As I say, can you notice here, Steve's got his archers, his long-range Cretan archers, in close, tight formation there for more impact and more damage. And make no mistake, he is really concentrating on those Macedonian pikemen there. Oh, I don't know what casualties he's caused. I remember those 120-man units there. There's one with 76, one with 63, one with 61. So these units, a lot of these units have been halved by the archer fire that I think Steve's been laying down on them. So that's a lot of arrows there have been hitting those Macedonian pikemen from Steve's close, tight formation archers there. Okay, but you can see here that, as I say, Pompey's got a great defence here against cavalry attack on his left flank. With those pikes, he's bringing his archers forward as well to target enemy archers there. But also, look, can you see how he's taking his Macedonian companion cavalry forward here, along with Carthage Sacred Band cavalry unit here to take out our archers. Okay, make no mistake here, this is a good aggressive attacking move here by Pompey and Barclaymen there with their cavalry. Okay, because you can see here they've taken them out now. If Pompey brings his pikes round here, look, gets his Carthage allies to hold and pin Steve, okay, and then gets those pikemen round his flank, he could then attack Steve in the flank there while he's being held and pinned by the Carthage Sacred Band units. Okay, that may be something that they're looking at here. Meanwhile, here you can see Vlad is engaging JGP here in a Rome versus Rome battle. Okay, and as I say, over here on the left flank, let's say, interesting formation by Mars. I know we've talked about it a lot, but I think that's a lot of potential there, I think, in the way that he's using Rome. And as I say, over here on the right flank, you can see the enemy are kind of closing in on us there, I think, with the pikes and cavalry that they've got there. They could charge into our archers, cause major damage. You can see they've routed a lot of our archers there. Meanwhile, here you can see that Parthian cavalry unit bang straight into the flank of that Sacred Band unit, but there's pikes unit that's going to rout. Yep, there you go. That unit just routed there because it probably suffered some casualties from the pikes as well. Okay, you can see some of those Macedonian cavalry being brought over into the fray. And as I say, what he may well do there, he may well engage, or he may well pull his cavalry back behind his own pikes, trying to encourage the Parthian general to charge into those pikes. But I don't think Mad King's going to do that. He's too experienced for that. But as I say, I think Pompey set up a really good defence here on this left flank, a good anti-cavalry and elephant defence here on this left flank, along with Mad King's Sacred Band cavalry as well, helping out. Nice bit of teamwork there by Mad King. And don't forget, the Macedonian general has got his long-range Cretan archers there, which will be targeting enemy cavalry and enemy archers there on that left flank. So Pompey's done extremely well there with that counter defence formation there, I think. Okay, So here you can see Vlad here is attacking JGP very aggressively. Now if you notice here, can you see Mad King's got his elephants there, but look at what the enemy troops are saying, frightened by elephants, frightened by elephants. So these guys' morale is very low, and he hasn't even used his elephants yet. Okay, so he's just keeping them there to lower the morale of enemy troops. They're making them more susceptible to routing. But he has made the mistake maybe of coming into range of enemy archers. And can you see the archers here are shooting fire arrows into the elephants. Now remember, fire arrows panic elephants and can make them run amok. Remember, if those elephants run amok, they will kill both friend and foe alike. Okay, so he is being hit now by fire arrows. And as I say, those elephants could run amok and start killing our troops. So, as I say, he's moving forward there to frighten the enemy troops, take the morale away from them, but, as I say, they could run amok. Meanwhile, over here on our left flank, you can see the way that Mars is using that new Roman formation here. He could come around the flank of my infantry while I'm pinned and held at the front. Okay, so that could be a nice move by them if he does that. But as I say here, you can see Vlad attacking with his cavalry. He's going to smash straight in to JGP's cavalry there, and bang, as that Scipio cavalry charges in to JGP's infantry, routing a couple of units straight away there. So that was a nice aggressive hit there by Vlad's cavalry straight into JGP's infantry. But just like I draw your attention to something in a minute. Okay, so as you can see here, I'm facing all these Julii troops as they're starting to move around my flank. Okay, but there's something I just want to show you here. Can you see that Mad King is charging his elephant unit forward? Okay, JGP is charging his cavalry forward, and can you see my cavalry is locked and loaded? So what we're going to do a mass hit here of JGP's infantry, JGP's cavalry, an elephant unit, and my cavalry are going to smash into Vlad's infantry there, and bang! Unfortunately, did you see that elephant unit routed on impact there? Okay, so that's not very good for us there, I don't think, as the elephant unit routed there. But as you can see, I'm charging my cavalry in now. I'm going to charge my cavalry, and I'm going to hit that enemy Scipio infantry, and bang! As I smash into that infantry. So we've got JGP's infantry, JGP's cavalry, and all my cavalry smashing in to Vlad's infantry there. You can see some Sacred Band cavalry coming in on the flank as well, and you can see that Vlad is charging his cavalry, and this is a massive, massive cavalry and infantry part of the battlefield here. Now this could be a pivotal and decisive part of the battlefield here. Whoever wins here could go on to win the battle. Okay, so I've got all my cavalry in there, JGP's cavalry. We're being hit by Sacred Band cavalry coming in from the flank. But as you can see, that is a massive hit going on there. Okay, meanwhile over on our right flank here, you can see that Mad King is using his cataphracts there to chase down the companion cavalry, which he's killed. He's got another elephant unit out there to move in if he wants. Plus he's got some more cataphract cavalry there to move around behind the enemy lines, we hope. But here, as you can see, the Carthage Sacred Band moving in on Steve, and unfortunately here my army is being hit by different directions here from the way that Mars uses Roman formation there. Okay, so I'm being hit from several directions here, and luckily, as I say, this is an old army with an experienced striker, so I'm hoping they're going to hold. But I need to pull my cavalry back now from this part of the battlefield. I need to pull them back over to help my beleaguered infantry, because make no mistake there, they are going to be smashed by all that cavalry and all that infantry. So I need to pull my cavalry back, as I say, to help my infantry there. Okay, see the enemy Julii cavalry charging, bang! You see the different angles that those cavalry have come into my infantry, plus the way that he's used his infantry to come in at different angles as well. So as I say, veterans watching that's this new Roman formation that that Mars is using. I think it's got a lot of potential there. As you can see, I'm counter-attacking with my cavalry. Mad King's got an elephant unit there he's thrown into the fray as well. As I say, I'm bringing my cavalry back here to help my infantry. As I say, that old infantry army of mine, as you know, has got an experienced stroke on most units, and that's going to keep them fighting longer. But as I say, they're not going to hold that long against continuous cavalry hits and all that infantry coming in from different angles there. Okay, let's just pause again for a second. So as you can see here, Mars's infantry is attacking my infantry head on, but also coming in on the flank as well. As I say, I've brought my cavalry back over. What I was hoping to do with my cavalry there, throwing it in with JGP, was going to smash Vlad's army there, and we could have turned all our troops onto this flank. Okay, but unfortunately, even with JGP's and my cavalry smashing into Vlad's army, we couldn't quite break it. Okay, and my guess is that Vlad's probably got some stripes on his infantry, got a stripe on his infantry while it kept them fighting so long. But as I say here, you can see, I think, as I say, the way that Mars has used that Roman formation there of like breaking his infantry up into 4 separate armies backed up by his cavalry, I think could be very, very effective there. Okay, so you can see we've got elephants there as well. You've got Steve's archers there targeting the Macedonian pikemen all the time. But as you can see here, Steve now has become engaged with those Carthage Sacred Band units. Okay, now Carthage is a really good matchup for Greek cities here, and believe me, it could go either way. JGP's infantry still engaging, and Vlad's Scipioid infantry here. Okay, but I notice JGP's got a lot of infantry in behind Vlad, which he may well bring back into the battle when he is ready. But as I say here, my army here is being attacked from all sides, plus cavalry coming as well. There's 2 Julio units coming in, and bang, as I smash in. If you notice here, I've pulled my cavalry back to reorganise them, lock and load them, and then charge them back in. There's some more Julio cavalry coming in, bang, as I smash in. I'm counter-attacking with my SPQR cavalry, and bang, as my cavalry there, making deep inroads into those Julio infantry and cavalry there as my cavalry smash into them there. But make no mistake here, my troops are suffering bad from being hit from behind. Can you see the Julio infantry are in behind me as well? So I'm being hit from behind, from the flank and the front as well. As I say, really nice use of that Roman formation that Mars was using. Meanwhile over here you can see our Parthian ally there has charged his elephants in once again, attacking enemy troops. He's brought some Parthian heavy cataphract cavalry in behind as well, smashing into the rear of those engaged Scipioid troops, plus JGP has got cavalry there. He's also going to charge in. My guess is that we could well break Vlad there. But as I say, poor old Steve here now is facing Carthage and Macedon. Okay, Steve's got a pivotal task here. He's got to be the anchor of the team here and try and hold Macedon and Carthage here for as long as he can. So as I say, you got a pivotal role there, but notice what he's doing with his Cretan archers in close tight formation, shooting arrows into the rear of those engaged troops. Okay, so he's going to be causing a lot of casualties to those troops, shooting them in the rear. And you can see there's a lot of cavalry skirmishing still going on during the course of the battle. But there's a general overview of what's happening at the moment. As I say here, it would be great if we could just rout all of Vlad's army here and then turn our troops over to maybe help my army there on the flank. You can see those elephants there have been alt-attacked. They're just charging straight into the enemy Scipio troops, the big fear factor. And we have routed Vlad's general now, so there you go. And I think the rest of Vlad's army now has been taken out. And my allies now will start bringing troops over here to help me on this flank. I can see JGP charging his cavalry in as well. Make no mistake, I think Mars has used that new battle formation extremely well here. And as I said before, veterans watching this, you may well see some potential in the way that he used that new battle formation, the way you use Rome there. Okay, let's say my allies are bringing over reinforcements here to help me fight the Julii army. As I say, he moved units in behind me, he moved units in from the flank, as well as pinning and holding from the front as well, so that was nice, plus those cavalry hits going in on me as well. Okay, this elephant here has run amok and is starting to kill both friend and foe alike, so we hope that elephant shoots off somewhere else and not round our troops. Okay, can you see my cavalry charging in there? Bang, as my troops smash in there. I can see some more of my SBQR infantry are starting to rout here, but we've got Parthian cavalry charging in, JGP's charging infantry and cavalry in, and my cavalry's hit as well. Okay, let's just pause the game for a second here. So between us, we're routing a lot of Mars's infantry here over on our left flank. But make no mistake there, I thought Mars used that formation extremely well. Now, going back over to Steve here, can you see the Macedonians are moving those long pikes in behind him, and he's got units starting to rout here where the Carthage Sacred Band are pushing in on him as well. Okay, but don't forget, all the time Steve is shooting fire arrows into the rear of those engaged Carthage troops, not only causing casualties but panicked by fire as well, so dropping their morale as well, making them more susceptible to routing. Okay, so there's a general overview of the battle as it stands at the moment. Okay, so as I say, I think Mars has done really well here over on the left flank, and he's got his cavalry once again ready to charge in. You can see a lot of my SBQR units are starting to rout now with the pressure of the enemy troops pouring in there. JGP, as usual, being a very good team player there, has just taken out Mars's general. And we are charging in now, charging my cavalry back in there, and we've managed to rout basically now all of Mars's units. Okay, look at this elephant unit going into the rear of those Macedonian pikes, and bang as it charges in there. It's been alt-attack, but it's alt-attack charging in, but also the archers are shooting into the enemy troops as well. And with that massive hit that has routed a heck of a lot of those Macedonian pikes there, that was a nice hit. Plus there's cavalry and camels coming in there as well into the rear of those Macedonian pikes. That was a great hit there by Mad King with his elephants and cavalry there. Really nice hit into the back of Pompey's engaged pikemen. So really well done to him. Let's say Steve's archers are mercilessly shooting arrows into the rear of those Carthage Sacred Band. And it looks like we've managed to rout all of Mars's infantry over here on our left flank. Okay, so we've done quite well here, I think. And it looks like our team has managed to go on to win the battle here. Okay, so do you remember at the beginning of the battle I said I was going to ask you a question towards the end of the battle? Something that I haven't done in 460 battle videos, okay? So the question is to you, that's why I said watch the battle closely. Who do you think has got the most kills in this battle? Who do you think has got the most kills? I think I'm going to go for the Greek cities because I know that their archers were absolutely decimating Macedon. Plus Steve was fighting Carthage and Macedon here. So I think that the Greek cities are going to have the highest kills. Although saying that, JGP was also killing a lot of the enemy troops as well. So, as I say, I think for the highest kills in the game, I'm going to go for Greek cities. As I say, they were fighting both Carthage and Macedon, and I know Steve's archers was decimating them. But as I say, JGP was all over the battlefield as well with his cavalry and infantry, so he could well have the highest kills. But as I say, those of you that watch the battle closely, who do you think is going to have the highest kills in the battle? As I say, I think I'm going to go for the Greek cities there because I know that they've caused massive casualties with their archers there. So I think that's who's going to have the highest kills here. But we just have to wait and see. Okay, let's just pause again for a second to see the actual intensity of the battle. Remember here, this is where my army was fighting Mars's army there, and how he attacked my flank. I got troops in behind me and attacked the front as well. Really good. Here you can see where JGP and Vlad were fighting, plus other allies charging in there as well. Okay, you can see this elephant has run amok. Now, can you see he's killing friendly cavalry here? Okay, can you see that elephant there is killing friendly cavalry because he's run amok now? And he would just, as I say, when elephants run amok, they become a menace like chariots. They kill both friend and foe alike, and that's exactly what he's doing to our allies' cavalry there. See the flashing banner there? Red banner there means that he has actually run amok. And here you can see where Steve was fighting both Carthage and Macedonian here with a pivotal anchor role there of holding. So that's why I think the Greek cities have got the most kills. Okay, so it's an average victory. I thought it would have been a close victory, but it's an average victory. But let's have a look at the kills here. Who's got the highest kills? Steve? Is it Steve like I thought? Could it be JGP? No. Mad King's Parthia. So Parthia have got the highest kills in a 31k battle. Okay, we tweaked the rules a little bit, gave him a 3 ele max, but he only bought 2 elephants and a no cavalry max. So we tweaked the rules a little bit to give Parthia a bit of a chance on a 31k battlefield, and there you go. He has got the highest kills, and make no mistake, he's fighting really good, experienced players here, and he managed to get the highest kills, so really well done. Steve got good kills as well. Well done to Steve, and well done to JGP. So really well played there, and really some really good kills for you guys. So well done there. And I thought the diversity was quite good of the team as well. So we've got of both teams, because you can see here we've got, just like I say, there are Rome, Macedon, Rome, and Carthage there. So I thought that was pretty good. And there we've got Rome, Parthia, and Greek cities. So it was a good diverse battle there, I thought. So really well done. Like I say, really well played to Brotherhood member Vlad. He did really well there. Really well played to Brotherhood member Pompey. Great defence on that flank. Really well played to Mars. Really nice use of that new formation. And really well played to Barclay Man. Nearly turned the battle there, I think. Well done to him. So really well played to your team. Really great teamwork there, guys. But also like to say, really well played to JGP. Brotherhood member JGP, really well played to Brotherhood member Steve Longshanks, and a special well played to Mad King with Parthia on the 31k battlefield against really good players. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this battle. I hope the Battle of CARRHAE, I hope you didn't find that too boring, and I thought the question about asking you who had the highest kills towards the end of the battle, I thought you found that interesting. I hope you found that interesting as well. So this is Spartan Commander saying, hope you enjoyed the battle, look forward to seeing you soon, and bye for now.